we're ready. No dark roast today.
No.
Said about that. Gave you a good scare walking in today.
Yeah, it was good. It's funny.
I want to
hilarious, but kind of funny.
Real quick, just tell people about this. So, one of the guys we have in here was saying, because he listens to the podcast, and he says, "Man, it's so funny because when we're at PowerTech, like it's not like that at all. And then you watch the podcast, and it's like so serious and all business. So one of these things we like to do, and it's evolved over the years, is we like to scare people. So hide behind the corner and pop out and jump out and whatever. And we have a little bit of a different style. Like you like going for more of the loud. Not all the time though.
I like to go animal.
You go,
like
yeah, you go loud.
Bananas.
I really like being quiet.
Yeah.
I like doing the
Both
little
are
tiny
effective.
ones. Both are very effective.
And we scare the shit out of people every day.
Hilarious. Random, it'll be like guys that work here, but then like clients. Like,
You remember 2 weeks ago? One of my Siegs that was working, his back was to me, and he was talking to a customer. And the customer's, I guess, my age. I can't tell how old people are. I guess he's around my age, and I was walking up, going like, So the kids and the dad are looking at me like, okay. And Siegs didn't notice. I came up behind him and I scared him, and the dad looked at me like, "Are you okay?" But then he laughed.
You gotta laugh. It's literally hilarious. So, anyways,
Speaking of that, when you said the podcast, it was 2016ish, 15, 16, where a couple people were suggesting that I do video stuff and just have a camera. This is for like people that don't really know us. Have a camera on me at all times, because you're 100% right. What you see on the podcast is my serious side or my coaching
Business,
side,
coaching,
business side. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, business.
But so the other 99% of my life is it's like you're in a hockey dress room all the time. It's hilarious.
It's hilarious.
And it's not because of me.
No.
It's because of our environment.
The environment, the people
and
around
it's because of me
it
too.
is, and it's mostly because of you.
It's absolutely nuts. My wife at home, she's like, "You're crazy, man."
Yeah. So
Charlie, that's why he's half nuts. He's it's crazy. So when they were suggesting the podcast, I have a thing on you all the time, and I was like, the thing is I have a choice. When I decided to do this, because I wanted to transition my hockey experiences into for the good. So if I did Jackass Andy, then it would be funny, but it wouldn't make my family proud.
No.
Well, it wouldn't be what I want to represent myself as. It takes away your professionalism, even whatever.
Well, it's the time and a place situation, right? Like there's a time when we want people to actually take you serious and all of that. So you want to make sure that
But I am serious.
No, I know. Except when you're not.
Yeah. Except for when
mostly.
Yeah. Yeah. But I am serious. You have to be serious to do it. So that was the thing. So I had to make that decision, and I decided that I wanted to do it for the benefit of hockey. I didn't want to be like a jackass hockey show where anybody can.
There's enough of that.
Well, there's enough of it, and it's like, what's the value? You know, I wanted to bring something to kids and coaches and parents that actually can benefit them, not just laugh.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, that's that.
Well, yeah, not to get all deep either, but there's there's a lot of like the mindless entertainment stuff. Yeah. But especially kids, when they're trying to figure out their way through being a kid and being a teenager and whatever, they're always looking for help, like good resources, ways to make themselves better or do better at whatever the thing is that they're trying to accomplish. And I find that when you're working with kids, they all want that. Every single kid wants that. And there's not a lot of resources, especially in the space of athletics. There isn't a lot of stuff like that. Like you talk about like the more like nerdy stuff, for lack of a better word, where like read your books and study, do your homework and those kind of things. But athletes don't really relate to that kind of messaging. So I feel like it's a good kind of in between where we're talking about it through the lens of the sport, but we get to relay some of those actual like good concepts to help them like actually develop as a person and be a better hockey player, be a better person, and feel better about themselves and go through their life actually doing something productive, not just mindless shit that you can watch off of all the
having said that, it's very, very funny because it's going to go with some of the questions we have today from some that's not a sentence, from some of our viewers. Is people are really are looking for that though. You know what I mean? They're looking for, like, I get surprised sometimes, and I guess I really shouldn't be. Like, there is a burning desire for people. Like when you remove all the fluff, right? Like let's go hockey player, right? So you're a hockey player, and there has to be a persona of a fairly rough and tough. That's not 1980s tough or Dave the Hammer Schultz tough kind of persona, but there's a bravado and a thing where it's old school. It's you're around with the guys and you never want to show weakness, and I understand that. It'd be like a Navy SEAL, right? You don't walk around talking about your feelings all day.
Yep.
But and maybe you're weird for stepping out a little bit and saying I want to learn how to get better. Like I know it's a crazy statement to say, and then once in a while when someone comes along and they actually touch you in a way that makes you feel okay. I can listen to this. I can learn from this. I can get motivated. Okay, I'm no different than anybody else. Whatever, all these different things. It's actually good. So, surprisingly or not, well, over the years of just talking to guys, like saying the things at the right time, or being an example at the right time, went a long way. I remember Dalton was in Calgary when he was playing for Calgary. So he got traded from New Jersey to Calgary. And I was checking in on, hey, how's it going, bud? And I knew it wasn't going well. Like I usually don't touch base with the guys when things are going well, except for something, ridiculous. I'll give them a high five or something because it's their season. They're in their season. That's what they have to worry about. Yep. So Dalton was in Calgary, and it was like he had a rougher time in New Jersey. Got traded to Calgary, and he was playing in and out of the lineup, and it was just a stretch where it was just hard. And I knew it. So the thing is that you're usually, your good friends are there when things are shit, not when they're good. And I called him out, and he goes, Andy, I don't even know if it's hard right now. He goes, I don't even know if I belong in the NHL anymore. And I just said the things that with the truth, just say that, they signed you to a contract. They want you to be there. You're playing a role. Believe in yourself. Of course, you deserve to be in the NHL. And we went over a few things, and he said, and it kind of just said, yeah, you're right. But he just needed someone to say that.
Yep.
It's not like it was genius or anything, but so anything with the podcast, I'm not surprised, but I'm surprised how many people, like you said, the one person that reached out today was a former player, and I would never have expected him to be listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
And it's like he's listening for a reason, because I know you can apply a lot of these principles to life, and maybe it's just good for him or whatever. It's good material for him, and I think sometimes it surprises me who listens to it.
Yep.
But then again, it doesn't surprise me at all, because I know people are dying. Everybody has this thing on their forehead, even though no one sees it, that says, make me feel important. Give a shit about me. Right? Not the general stuff. And that's why I think this resonates with some people.
Yeah, and it's amazing that that's missing. Like, it's so easy to you don't need to give people much. That's what I find. Mm-hmm. In terms of like, give them like some responsibility or some onus, or make them believe they can actually do something. Yeah. It doesn't take much. Like, you give kids a little bit of that, and they start to go to it, because they feel like their life gets better, or their situation, their sport, their performance, whatever it is, it gets better. Yeah. And I've, like, with messages, we get DMs, comments a ton, but DMs especially are starting to pick up now, of like kids in some random place in the United States, or some random place wherever in Canada, across the country, whatever, had a guy from Russia want to use some stuff for coaching situation. And it's like, especially with the young people that are messaging us, like, they're reaching out and asking like genuine questions about what they can do. And I know that kid. I know that type of kid. Like, they're the kid that they're on their high elite level team as a 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old. And they're Joe Cool guy for sure, because that's how you are when you're in junior. Everyone's trying to be cool. Everyone's trying to fit in. And this kid comes and messages, and they're confiding in us to try to help them with their life, and they feel comfortable enough to do that, to reach out. So it's a cool thing. It's a pretty awesome. Yeah.
Excuse me. So I wanted to bring something up. I want to talk about my Guelph Storm for a little bit.
Yeah.
Love these guys, man. Love these guys. So first of all, have you ever been a fan before of any sport? Do you ever cheer for someone? Cheer for someone or cheer for a team?
It depends what you mean, but yeah, I would say probably. Well, like, so when I was younger, I would watch sports or watch a team and be like, wow, I want them to win. Like, I actually had a desire for my team to win, or like a certain player, I want them to do well. Yeah. Okay. And then as I got older, like probably when I started playing junior, I started to not really care. Right. I was like a fan of the game. Like, I liked watching hockey, or I liked being a part, and a lot of sports actually. I'm interested in sports, but I didn't actually care about the outcome necessarily. It would be like, well, I prefer for them to win, but if they don't win, I'm not lighting a fire downtown or anything, right? So like it's kind of like that. So I don't know if that's kind of what you mean, or
yeah. Well, okay, because I have a point to
Right.
this. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was never ever a fan, except let's just say when Wayne Gretzky and the Edmonton Oilers were great. I loved watching them play.
Yeah.
So maybe at my 8, 9, 10, 11, I kind of liked them.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to watch Gretzky and Messier and all those guys. So I would say, let's say that was the only point in my life that I was
similar.
a fan.
Yeah, similar.
Fan.
Young.
Not even a fan.
Yeah.
But, and then the other time I was maybe, not even, I can't even say a fan, but when I was, I liked the Kansas City Chiefs back in.
Oh, cool.
When I was a teenager. Really? Yeah, man. I liked them because and I wasn't a big football fan, but or a huge football fan. I'd watch some here and there, but I liked the Kansas City Chiefs because I really liked their running backs. The Nigerian Nightmare, Christian Okoye, just a big 245-pound. He was actually a track star from Nigeria that came to whatever, had a scholarship somewhere, and then they put him at running back. Never played a game of football in his life. And he would just barrel through people.
Cool.
Barrel through him. Just a huge man. Then they had another running back named Barry Word. And then Joe Montana became the quarterback on that team, and they were great, but they never won. So Sundays I would be like, I wanted the Chiefs to win a bit, or maybe I just enjoyed their team and watching the running
similar
backs.
Kind of thing.
That was the extent of ever being a fan.
Mm-hmm.
And for the life of me, I could never, ever, ever understand to this day someone actually getting emotionally involved or wearing a jersey of a team or a player. I don't understand
like that level of pride when you're disconnected from the team, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
If the Toronto Maple Leafs, if someone says I'm a Leafs fan, I'm a Red Wings fan, Chicago, I'm a fan, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand. It makes no sense to me.
Mm-hmm. So,
to change gears though, being a fan really changes your game watching experience. So I'm a fan now of my Guelph Storm.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's one reason why I love the Guelph Storm, and his name is Charlie Paquette, number 23, right? The little 15-year-old meathead. But interesting, man, because now, like watching an OHL game, I used to watch because I used to train teams, right? The Spits, Sarnia, all this stuff. Right? Yeah, and all the players. So when I'd go to an OHL game or an NHL game, when you watch your players play, you're watching them, not necessarily the team. I want them to do well, right? So so this year, watching the Storm, I'm watching my son first, right? Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
I'm not that proud to say that I'm not a great dad, like I'm too good to be a dad. I'm a dad, man. Yeah. And I go there and I watch so differently now. I watch my son, like he gets on the ice. I don't see anybody else. I'm like,
you're staring at him.
Super fan. He should have did that. Like, and it's stupid.
Yeah.
I do my best, but at the end of the day, I want to make sure he finishes his hits. He makes the plays, gets the puck out, all that stuff.
Yep.
And my ass puckers right up when he plays.
Yep.
It's the weirdest thing.
I watch it. It's hilarious.
Like I get right into it.
Well, I tell you,
that was good.
Every time I'm around you, and even when we're talking about it, like we'll be talking about it, and then you'll get on a tear, like you can feel the passion start to come out of you, and I'll just start like laughing, just be like, oh, it's proud dad.
I love I love it. I love it, but I love his team. Yeah. So I'm watching this this team play, and I'm so impressed because they are the youngest team in the OHL right now. If you take the exact roster they have now, even a couple guys that are kind of up and down with the team. The oldest guys, everything, can have the exact same roster moving into next year.
Yeah. Everyone's still eligible next year.
Everyone's eligible next year, so they're young.
Yeah.
And they don't have, like, Charlie plays a fairly rough and tough game, but I'm not going to sit here and say, like, he's going around the OHL intimidating people right now. But he has a little bit of a presence, and, he does what he needs to do. Yeah. Profaka, a good D, big.
I like him a lot.
Yeah, he's good. He's good and physical. And Cam Allen is very physical, especially for a first-year guy, and so skilled. So I watch this team, and I just I actually want them to win. Whether my son's having a great game or not, I want them to win because and my son tells me all about the boys, right? So it's a beautiful team. So last night they played London, and I was the Tuesdays and Wednesdays and
it's a tough night,
games that they play. Right now I'm on the ice, so I get to watch almost a full period. And then I get to go on the ice and come back, and I usually catch the third period or close to it. And then I went home last night and watched the second on my own. What was my point to that? Oh yeah, I can't stand it. So they played in London last night, and ended up winning in overtime, and they played great. So my son was really fired up about going to London because a couple reasons, but one of them was that he knows that it's going to be pretty much full. So I guess there was just under, I guess there were around 8,000 people last night. My wife and some of the family went up to the game, and they said it was nuts, awesome. So so a 15-year-old kid, you can imagine, and all these first-year guys and that have. That means the first time coming to rinks, right?
Mm.
And they go into the London Budweiser Gardens, and there's 8,000 people there, and it's like it's a different experience, right? It's one of those things your senses have to get used to. It's like, okay, wow. So that was pretty cool. Anyways, they won in overtime last night, and I was just really proud of them. And I just wanted to say, like, being young, I'm so impressed because, like I said, they don't necessarily have like that guy that can give you that, that one or two guys that can give you the snarl on the ice and like settle the game down. They got just hardworking dudes. And the beautiful thing about this team, it's by committee. Like, so for example, they have, I don't have notes. I just have something here. So, this is the other beautiful thing. I love it because Charlie was saying a lot of these guys watch our podcasts. So and that's why I'm saying hi to them kind of in a sense. And Millette wanted me to give a shout out. So you're getting yours in a second there. So, you got Pastajov and Zulkin. So Pasta's leading the league in scoring. Came from the U.S. program. Awesome player. Just so smart, so good. Awesome. Plays with Zulkin. That's going to be probably a high pick in the NHL this year. Real crafty guy. And then they got Sikic on the wing. That's a long, lanky guy. Not a huge point getter, but he's always contributing, sticks on puck and stuff like that, and just awesome. So then it goes down. Yeah, so Pappas, Walker, and McFarland, like just Pappas' speed, Walker, good defensive guy, kills penalty, wins a lot of faceoffs, and then you got McFarland, smaller guy.
I like that guy.
I know you do. He's like an energy guy that cracks people all over the ice. Good forechecker, backchecker, penalty killer.
Nice to watch.
He is nice to watch. Yeah. I know, and he's like 5'8".
Oh yeah, I think, Irish guy.
Yeah, little Irish guy. Yeah, little freckle-faced redhead. Then you got this really young group of guys. After that, you got Patras and Carabella and Bonesy. They just put pucks in the net. And they're just showing up and they're just grinding and they go at it. They never quit. It's great. And then you got these young guys. And then you got, so Jake Millette. This is what I like about him is they call him Mailer. Okay. What I like about him is like, and a lot of, the reason I went through a lot of the names is because it's great because during games and stuff like that, you got kind of have lines. Well, this team, because they're so young and stuff, and they need to have things happen. You see like a guy like Jake Millette, he'll go up and down the lineup, center, wing, penalty kill, does a great job defensively, skates hard. He's always on pucks and stuff like that, but you can put him anywhere in the lineup, and he's kind of like not a huge points guy. Sorry, Mailer. Yeah. But not yet, anyways. But he's all over the ice, just plays every role. He does his job. Like it's beautiful to watch. And then you got these young guys, Zulkin, Charlie, and McGuire and Coughlin, and they're all kind of like skilled and kind of rough and tough. And like in a couple years, they're going to be like really, really good. And then on their back end, like Ncaa, sick, so good. 6'3", 4". He's just so good. Like I don't know, maybe he's made a bad pass this year. I don't know, but he's so calm and he's so good. Yeah. Charlie's got some funny stories about him. Profaka said he's kind of rough, but these two kids here, Bushinger, I forget how to say it, and Cam Allen, unreal. Yeah. For D. Yeah. They're 04s, so they're like or Cam's in 05. But they're you'd think that they're playing the league for 3 years. They got like a roughness to it, and they're so calm, make plays like just phenomenal. Cam's going to be unreal. Yeah. Bushy's going to be unreal. Then you got Harper and Haferbricker and McRae, and they're just like awesome, man. Yeah. Awesome to watch. And then their goaltending, they got 2 goalies. So what's amazing about this team is they're going to be in. They could literally have this team. Literally, I don't want to use that word anymore. Yeah. They could have this team together for the next at least one more year, like the exact same team, and then if you start filling the blanks,
then they'll have the core for another 2-3 years.
What a core, man! What a core! So like these guys, like Jacob again, Millette and Walker. I think he'll stick around one more year, maybe Pappas too. These guys are going to be the older guys, but they're such good leaders now because they have this team first thing, and I don't know if that's what their brain says, but they play team first game. And it's just so nice to see they can go up and down the lineup and they just do the job that needs to be done and they just work their ass off. Yeah. Now they've done very well so far this year as a young team. Who knows what changes? was talking to Charlie the other night at after one of the games, and I said, like, because they've played some good teams and they've come out on top, and they really, really compete. Yeah, they have a shitter every now and then.
Yeah.
But I said, what is it, bud? Like is it your team? Like, what makes you good? He goes, Dad, we just work hard. And then he goes, it's George. He goes, Dad, he's such a good coach. And like, for a young guy, to say that his coach is awesome and his coaching staff is awesome, when he's on the short end of the stick when it comes to, when you're 15, 16,
sure.
Things are not going your way.
Yeah.
So he's happier than a pig in shit, loves the whole team. Like the coach, he goes, the coaches are unreal.
Yeah.
So it's like so nice to see. And these guys are going to be one hell of a team.
Yeah.
They already are. But I'm really excited to watch this thing progress over the next 2-3 years.
Yeah. Well, you see,
so good, man.
For a guy like, especially for the rookie group, so the 05s that are in there now.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, for them to say that about their coach when they're not getting ice, it's like that's how you get the buy-in, right? That's how you can tell they have a little bit of that team first kind of mentality. And what's so awesome when you watch that team, outside of probably Pastajov and Zulkin, outside of those two guys who are usually like the heavy horses in terms of getting points, they get contributions from everyone.
Yeah.
Right? Like up and down the lineup. Like, so you have between like power play 5-on-5 stuff, like Bowman is third line winger and he's, what has he got? 7-8 goals?
7-8
already?
goals and 8
right?
games.
And he's hurt right now, but he's like hot start and they're right through the lineup. They're getting contributions from everybody. And that like you said, the only element that they don't have a ton of, like from when I watch them, is that like super get into the rough stuff kind of game. Yeah. They got a couple guys that do that, but that's something that can come like as they get more seasoned, and like nobody's played hockey for 2 years, so it's that's another consideration, right? But it's a fun team to watch, man, because they got some skill to make some good plays, and it's really super enjoyable watching those guys play.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll be watching, that's for sure. So good luck, go Storm.
Yeah, go Storm, go Storm. Man. That's freaking awesome.
That's good. So anything else on that? Or do you want me to segue?
Yeah, no, I'm done with that. I'm really proud of these guys, even though they don't even know me. They, a couple of them know how to say hi to me. That's about it.
Yeah.
But real proud of these guys.
Cool. Well, today we're gonna do something a little bit different. So, you've said this before, but with the social media, we're starting to get like a lot more, maybe not a lot, but a lot more engagement on a lot of the videos. And it's funny because I toss over some comments to you here and there about what people are saying and all that. And it's funny, we have some laughs about some of them, then we'll actually discuss some of them, and some of them are good. So we're going to take today and just, went through some of our videos off of TikTok and took a bunch of comments from people asking, because I want to get like some of the stuff is just like stupid and funny and like whatever, because not a lot of people know what they're talking about. But there's a lot of common either like misconceptions, misunderstandings, wrong thoughts just generally that are in the hockey space from people that maybe don't have as much experience. So for a lot of these things, it'll be nice just to kind of address some of the common. I went through and I tried to pick ones that are kind of a common theme from the videos that we're talking about. So I'll try to give a little bit of background on what the video is, just so you guys have some context, and then I'll lead into the comments. I'm going to try, when I actually edit this one, I'm going to try to put the actual comment up so you guys can see it, or even the video clip if I can figure that out. But hey, that might be a project.
It might be up next year.
So I know. So I'm going to start off. From here. So first comment, unless you have any other thoughts before I get into it here.
No, go ahead, man. Let's go. Let's get at her.
Okay.
How do I build my son's confidence? He goes, I'm struggling with it right now. I said, so I'm going to only assume that he's not the top guy on your team. He was right. And you're trying to find things just to keep him pumped up or to make him feel better. He goes, yeah, as you alluded to, most people go to the positive. And I said this exact story to him. I said, the first thing you don't want to do is come up with bullshit. Kid comes off the ice, he knows exactly how he played. If he's not confident, you as a dad or a mom or friends or Grammys or whatever, saying, you played so good, you worked so hard, they don't want to hear it because it's bullshit. Nor does the opposite, being negative, saying the things that you should be. That doesn't help them. I need a strategy. And I said, with the strategy, you're going to give them confidence. I said, you got to give them basic, foundational, simplicity. So he's a D. What's something that we could work on? I gave him 3 things. I said, now we talk to him and just say, you know what? If you do these 3 things, just work on these 3 things. Now, when he's on the ice, he's got 2-3 things that he is working on, that he's focused on. This boy gets the puck and he sees a winger or centerman and he puts it on the tape. That's a success. And that success needs to be celebrated. Some people are going to say, yeah, but need to score goals. No, goals are not the important thing. They're going to come, or they're not. Who cares? But there's a success. So he's got one success. He did it once that game. When he comes off the ice and he, maybe his head's down or he's not sure. Or if you bring that up and say, son, the second period, that was, you could tell you've practiced or you're thinking about it. There's nothing wrong with that. That helps that kid. Will he want to do it again? Got recognized for doing something well. And don't minimize it. It's huge. So you build on that kind of stuff.
So first one, this was a video we did recently. It was about kids that are playing AAA hockey and how to build their confidence. So context for the video, if I can't figure out how to post it, is you were talking about one of the dads that we had come in here, and he asked you a question about building his kid's confidence, and you kind of gave him three things.
Yeah.
The 3-thing idea, which you're big on for people that have listened before. And so one of the comments that somebody wrote, this was it. So with that context, take him out of AAA and let him go be a stud in AA hockey. The confidence will come. Then throw him back in AAA if he belongs. So this was a comment that somebody put on that video, and we're talking about young kids playing AAA, how to be confident. And so that's kind of the context for you, if you want to throw your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So the person asked, how to build his confidence on the ice, and I qualified it by saying it's on the ice, not off the ice. Yes. So again, this boy is probably not the top end guy on the team, so his dad's asking for solutions. Mm-hmm. So easy to say, well, just go play AA. Well, the kid in the family, he's good enough to play AAA. And I get so first of all, to that argument that the person said, I'll use my own son as example because it's the best example I can give. Mm-hmm. It's not about me talking about my kid. So when Charlie was coming up through the ranks at the Pee-wee level, I decided, because I wanted to keep him out of AAA for as long as I could, because hockey player is a hockey player, in my opinion.
Oh, so go more into that though. Why? Why was that your philosophy? Keep him out of AAA?
My philosophy on that was because I had yes, he was a pretty good little hockey player, a young guy. Yes, he loved hockey, and yes, he did all the practice, he did all the right things. But yes, also, he was only, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, right? Mm-hmm. So that was one. I didn't know, I didn't see the benefit, so for the confidence thing. So I wanted him to play with his friends, having fun, eliminating all the huge expense, eliminating traveling all over the place, eliminating getting too serious, and because I didn't know if he was a hockey player yet. He did all the right things when he was young, but I didn't know.
He's a little kid.
I've been around this for all my life. Yep. So I wanted to hold back and be with his friends for a while. It was fun. And I also know that as parents, that your smaller community. So ours was Essex. No one even knows where that is. It's outside of Windsor. The little Essex team that we had, where they went to school together, and the parents, a lot of people were friends. So when you'd go to games, it was you'd hang out together a little bit. Yeah, it was a social thing, and it was just a nice time. Mm-hmm. It was just nice. Yeah. It is what hockey's supposed to be. Yeah. And I really wish, in general, hockey would go back, which it won't, go back to your small centers and just play. And because here's why. Because I truly believe if more people just played in their small centers, what would happen is your stars would be stars. You'd have more kids playing at a travel level. So who knows what happens to the mediocre guys, right? And so your mediocre guys get better, and you can kind of make each other better. I think. Yep. I think. Yep. But what happens is the top guys try to go to the AAA level, and then they either blend in and okay, so let's say you go an Adam or Pee-wee, and you're not the top guy, and you're a third line guy. I don't like to say confidence, but are you confident? Do you play with confidence? Whereas if you played, in a smaller center, just playing against it's not AAA. Oh well, but you're still playing hockey, and you can have confidence. You probably have the puck a little bit more. Mm-hmm. You're doing a lot of things that are benefiting your hockey in the long term. Yeah. So the original question was?
Yeah, I was going to say, so just to hop in now. So this guy's point was he's in AAA already. So he was saying take him out of AAA to go to AA, let him gain some confidence, and then come back to AAA if he actually belongs in AAA. So that was his specific comment.
Okay, so the kid does belong in AAA right now. And if I was dad, if I was dad and my son wasn't a top tier AAA player, I would do that. I would do that. Okay. I'd take that advice and I would say, yeah, you're right. Personally, I would do that.
Can I push back on that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I remember, because I have a personal example, because for me, I started playing AAA right from like Select 7. So I was Select 7, and then I was AAA every year.
Yeah.
One year, I was maybe 11, so probably around the same age as the kid that was asking. And I was on the bubble for after tryouts. And I was definitely one of the better players, but I didn't have a good tryout or whatever. And so I was starting to get asked by the AA coach, seeing as I was a kid on the bubble, and he said, "Oh, like come down, we'll make you the captain of the team, you'll play all the time, whatever." And he was talking to my dad about that. And then my dad, I vividly remember we had the discussion in the car, like going home after the one tryout, and I was all like down in the dumps, whatever, because didn't have a good camp and I'm on the bubble. I'm like, how am I not signed yet? I've played every year and all this kind of stuff. And to me, from my perspective, if I would have went down to AA, I think that would have been worse, because now that feels like a loss, right? Because I was AAA and now you're taking me out and going to AA.
I get that.
And I don't know how, and it might have been better, but I don't know how it would have bounced back for that. But the idea as a kid of me being like demoted to AA, I don't know if that would have started like a spiral down where like I just don't care that much about hockey anymore because now I'm in AA.
You don't know. Yeah, you don't know.
That's just a little push.
My perspective on that is that if you're a dad making a decision to take him there, you should know. You have a pretty good clue when you go to tryouts if you have half a melon on you, right? You have a pretty good clue. Okay, no, he stands out. This would be good for him. If he just blends in, I actually wouldn't necessarily take him early. I'm not saying that that's what you do or that's what you don't do. That's my own personal opinion.
Well, what do you think about that specific point of take him out of AAA? So he was there, and now you're taking it away.
Well,
right? So that's different.
In context of the video, though, that he's responding to, we came up with a solution. Not, well, let's just pluck you. Right? Yeah. So there's learning experience as anything you do. So we could easily say, yeah, son, we're going to take you out. I don't think that's a good thing to do, to take your kid mid-season and go, okay, you go play with guys that are good. And I don't even know if you can. Maybe you probably could. But for me, it's like coming up with solutions. So the point of that the video that he listened to was like, someone said, how do I give them confidence in the because he wasn't one of the best on the team. Well, you could sit there and say, well, you're not good enough here, and let's pluck you and go back and play AA. I don't know if that's the best solution. I don't know if that's building confidence in your kid. I think you might be basically hitting him over the head with a shovel. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that's fine. You know what I mean? Because dad doesn't think you're good enough. Now, dad comes across and says, okay, son, here's what I think you can do to even gain more confidence. You say it in the right way, and you give him 3 things to work on, and he does. I think that's a better solution. Right. Next year, when the season starts, if he's not at the level that he should be to play at the AAA level, then I think that's appropriate to say, you know what, son, I think we should go back. You don't say because you're shit. Yeah. You say because I think you're going to be better off getting more puck touches and, right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
I would say, so
context of the question.
Yeah. You want to try to solve the problem first before you make like some drastic kind of move or decision.
And that was the point of that video, is like a person asked me a question. Yeah. How do I solve this? And I probably would have hurt the dad's feelings when I said, well, just take him out of AAA. Yeah. Yeah, it's you're a great coach. Yeah. That's right. So I just tried to provide a solution there. Yep.
Okay, next one. So this was interesting. This was actually from a parent. So the video, we were talking about NHL training camps and like how good you have to be to make the NHL. Remember, one of the guys we had in here went to Canucks camp, and he was saying that we're sitting in the room. One of the guys in ownership or in upper management, whatever, comes in and he says, "Okay, guys, 2% of you are gonna move on to like the next to main camp or whatever. We have all the best guys here. 2% of you are gonna make it." So that means there was like 2 guys or whatever that they're picking out of this group, and one of them was that Peterson kid that plays on Vancouver now. So really one, because that kid was already on. And these are all the top of the top of the top of the top, and they're not good enough to make it. They won't make it.
Talking about how hard it is to make it, I said, so there's a guy that just signed an NHL contract. They sent him back to junior. So I've watched 3-4 games. This guy controls the game. He's not the best player, but he's got a presence. So he's tough, dirty, he has a look, he can skate, he can move the puck, he can shoot the puck hard. He's not in the NHL. And he's probably about 12 deep in that NHL lineup for his position. How good do you have to be if you can control an OHL game? Yeah.
So this parent commented, and she said, in response to that video, and parents spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get their kid there for what? So get their kid there, meaning to the NHL for what? With the little I don't know emoji at the end. So this was an interesting one. So I had a little bit of a back and forth with this parent, because the perspective that I have on this is, well, we'll get into it. So I'll throw that to you on that.
Well, I have a student that I played with. His dad, not a student that I played with. I had a student who played in the OHL. He was pretty good. Peaked early. Okay, peaked at about 14 years old. Mustache, big kid, scoring a bunch of goals, and every year just dropped. And he was okay, not bad skater. Played in the OHL for a year and a half, and then it was done. So his dad used to come out, and I didn't read it because this is like 15, 16 years ago. His dad was, I've had a couple of these stories actually. His dad was paying me to train him, thinking that he was getting to the NHL. I didn't know that. That makes no sense to me. I would say you pay someone to increase their chances or to make them better. If you see potential, yeah, you know.
If they want to.
If they want to, yeah.
Yeah.
And the kid worked hard.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he was a hard worker for sure. Well, to this day, the dad still tells him how all the money I spent on you, look where it got you. It's what a message. I don't understand a dad. Like, I see potential in my son, okay? But I don't do things so that he makes the NHL, because that's on him. I don't have any expectations of him to. I know he works hard and it's his goal. I will help him, guide him in as many ways as I can to be a good dad, but I'm not his coach now, so. But if you're looking at spending tens of thousands of dollars to get to the NHL, then you have no idea how hard it is. The point of sports is to keep your kids active, to keep them in a good crowd, community, keep them in between the lines, teach them life lessons, all those kinds of things. That's what sports is. To sit there and say that what a waste of time because you didn't play in the NHL or get a scholarship, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad.
Yeah.
Like, it's very, very sad. Like, yeah, it's just so hard to make. Like, people don't understand, man.
Yeah.
They just really don't understand how hard it is. But that's not. And I hope the comment that the lady made was more, if you look back at it, would you have spent all that money? I can see that. Like, if someone goes back and said, you know what, we spent tens of thousands of dollars or whatever it is and the best stuff for our son, and for what? Like, that was kind of ridiculous. They could have maybe played in their communities or whatever. Right. I can handle that one a little bit better.
I think, and that's what I was going to say, like, in defense, maybe that's what she's saying. Like, what's the point of paying for the best of the best when you can get all the benefit playing for something that's not as expensive? But I have a rebuttal to that too, though, because I was going to say, like, there's also something to be said for, like, facilitating your kid to, like, chase the dream kind of idea, right? So if you always are saying to your kid, well, yeah, play hockey because you'll learn some life lessons and it's fun and you'll get to hang out with your friends and whatever, there isn't that element of, like, teaching, like, the ambition and the excellence and the chase the dream, because that, I think that's the most important life lesson that you get out of playing sports, is giving it your absolute best to the best of your ability, giving yourself the best chance for success. Yeah. Like, that's the biggest thing that I learned from playing hockey.
Yeah, work reward.
Exactly.
Work reward. You work, you get this. You do this, you do this. I mean, I talked to you about that with Charlie. Mm-hmm. It was really hard to get for as a kid to understand. I'd always try to teach him how to think about things and how to be mentally tough and stuff. And, you know, what's a 12, 13, 14-year-old going to get out of that? But it was a message being sent. But I was able to show him in the gym that results don't come by doing it once. Results don't come by doing it twice. Mm-hmm. Results come by sticking to it. And then all of a sudden you're a little bit stronger. You're a little bit, you went from 25 pounds to 35 pounds. Mm-hmm. Squatting with a bar to 25 on each side, and you get, you start seeing progress. Yeah. And that's the point of sports to me, is to see that what you put into it is what you get out of it. And sometimes it's not easy and it's not fair and all these things. This is just life 101.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's something about that ultra competitive environment as well, Like just
many things
in the defense that maybe her point was that you could play AA and not AAA or whatever. And it's like, but there's something about playing against the best, like competing against the best, trying to succeed against the best. Like it's different than doing it casually.
Yeah.
If you win the AA championship, it wasn't as hard to win as the AAA championship because you're not playing against the best competition.
Yeah.
And so there's something about that's valuable too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's an interesting statement because you could, I've seen a lot of parents put their kids in there because it's a pride thing for them.
Yeah.
They want their kids to make it, and the kids could really care less. And if you're doing it that way, then that's on you. But I mean, it's hard because it's money, right? It's money and time for parents, and it's a lot. And if a kid really wants it, and you could sit down and say, okay, so we're gonna, if you make this team, you're gonna have to work hard. There's a principle. Number two is you got to give us your best because we're putting time and energy. We said it to Charlie before.
Yeah.
Right. I'll never be upset with you for not being good, like excellent at hockey, but I'll be a little bent out of shape if your effort's less than as best as it can be.
Yep.
So I want things to be done to the best of your ability, and that's including getting to bed and eating like relatively well for a kid, and doing things that are going to help you, right? And I want to see progress. So if you're interested, I'm interested.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's times when my business was having a hard time years ago when I went for, tough times there, where it wouldn't have been in my best interest to travel around Ontario, taking them all over the place and buying them expensive hockey sticks. But, he was willing to do the work, and you know what? Right or wrong, I don't know. I was there with him. My wife and I.
Yeah, well, I think that's the moral of the story on that one is, and that's why I picked that comment out, is like make sure that your motivation as parents, as mom and dad, make sure that you're doing things for the right reasons. You're not doing it so that they become a star.
Well, my nephew, right? He wanted to play AAA, and his my brother-in-law and sister-in-law are like, all right, and they were really questioning. They asked me about it. I'm like, I don't think he needs to right now. You don't even know if he's good yet. You think he is? Blah 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 blah. So it came down to it, and they decided, we're gonna do. He's gonna play AAA, or he's gonna try out for AAA. That's what we're gonna do. You know what the reason he wanted to play AAA was? This isn't a bad thing. This is a kid thing. You ready? Because AAA stays in hotels and they go on trips. So mom and dad saw that, and they're like, "Oh, you can do that with Essex." I can. Changes the thing. So there you go, right?
For sure. Yeah, that's a good point too.
Yeah.
Next one. So this was a fun one.
A guy like Sidney Crosby was so freaking good. A few years ago, he decided that he needed to get better on face-off. So every day for a year after practice, he'd sit there and do face-off after face-off. So now you can't even compete. Mm-hmm. They've got talent plus the hard work. People really don't understand how good you have to be an NHL hockey player. Zach Kassian, for example, he could be skating hard. You can give him the hardest pass he possibly can in limited space. And if it's in his skates, he'll kick it up. If it's anywhere near him, he's got it. He's not missing that pass. I would say it's probably 2016, 2017. We're doing a shooting drill. So Webby, a defenseman, he's assistant captain for Buffalo, 6'2", big guy, hard-working hockey, but not skilled. And I'm not cutting him up. He wasn't skilled. But skilled more than most people.
Relative to hockey players.
So, but he was a 5'6" D his whole career and block shots and stuff. So Webby goes and stands in front of the net. Like Aaron Ekblad is cracking slap shots. And Webby stand there with a stick like this, like upside down. NHL guys are shooting, and he's standing right dead center in the middle and didn't miss a puck. He's a defenseman. No skill McGill. Yeah. Standing in front of the net. Every shot. And he's not holding it like a hockey player. He's holding it like this. And they're coming in hard. 85 to 100 miles an hour. Didn't flinch.
So with that, this guy says, I love when they start with bro. He goes, bro, that's a lie. There's no way a 5'6" D is tipping pucks like that on the regular, with the crying, laughing face. So that was his response to us talking about Mike Weber tipping pucks. So go ahead.
Well, if I'm lying, I'm dying.
Yeah.
I don't know why I would make a story like that. But okay, let's just say he missed a couple.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just say that. Maybe I lied. Maybe out of the 50 pucks or 100 pucks that were given to him, he didn't get exactly. He got most of them.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
Yeah.
He may have missed one or two. Actually, a couple might have even missed the net.
Yeah.
And he couldn't reach him. So let's just say he got which now
80%,
now I'm lying. He only got 75 to 80% or 90. Now I'm lying, actually. But that's not the point. The point is the point of this is that people look at, because someone said something the other day. I don't know if you put this down, if you found one of those. Someone said someone in the NHL, like they used Milan Lucic for an example, that he couldn't even handle a junior practice.
Yeah, I wish we would have got that one too.
And
wait, hang on. I want to sharpen that one. So along the same lines, this guy, somebody else commented in the same kind of vein that Milan Lucic couldn't skate with a WHL team.
Right.
Like he would go out so WHL is like the OHL out west in the CHL. So he was saying if he played on a WHL team that he'd be one of the worst players or skaters or one of those things with the WHL team. So go ahead.
It's just laughable. That's all. Like it's really, it actually is really hard to explain. Like, for example, there was Braden Kressler came out. So he plays with Flint and he just signed with Toronto, right? So he was skating with me in the COVID, and he was skating with a group of kids his own age and a year younger. Like
he's 03?
He's 03. So yeah, his own age, a year younger than Charlie's age. Yeah. So he's a beautiful skater, right? Like incredible skater. And the guys are like, holy crap, like he is so good. And I was like, yeah, at the time, he's a fourth line winger for the Flint Firebirds. Yep. They're like, no. I'm like, yeah. We've had Keenan Suthers out, right? He plays at the University of Maine Black Bears right now. 6'8". He played on the U.S. national team, and he skates with me all the time. People look at it and they go, that's impossible that he's that good and that big. And no, this is a guy that's hardly getting points in university. You have no idea. You have no idea how good the good guys are. Mm-hmm. Like no idea. So like Dalton Prout, if you watched him on the ice, and people do around here, they go, "Oh my God, is he good?" Yeah, he's scratched and clawed to stay in the NHL. Yeah. And I'm not. That's not a. No. If you saw him shoot a puck, pass puck, skate, mobility, tough, hit guys, you'd say this guy's got to be a superstar. Now, if you watch Aaron Ekblad out here, everyone just goes, including the veterans in the NHL, go, like the guy it's ridiculous. Yeah. Like, so to the point is, they shoot the puck where they want it to go. Very, very seldomly miss. They're professionals. It's like, and this is what I don't think people understand, is when you take your time and you hone the craft and you go at it every single day and with a purpose, right? So if you're like a Mike Weber, you're doing like 560, you're working so hard to do the little things that tipping a puck, he stands there in front and blocks shots all day. He's not worried about a puck at him. So it's not that impressive when you actually understand what they do for a living. Mm-hmm. It's like, from my perspective, right? Like, okay, Andy, you're going to have 40 guys out there. They're going to be on the ice in 15 minutes. NHL guys, can you do a lesson? Yeah. Yeah. It's what I do.
It's my job.
It's my job. It's what I do. Yeah. Right? It's, like, I mean, it's just the repetitiveness of what they do. Like, they're so good. Yeah. And, I mean, you look at Passagov with Charlie's team, right? The patience. Like, he's moving in slow motion half the time, and he just does little fakes and stuff that everyone bites on. So it's like, watching as a fan or as a whatever, you're watching the game, you can say, well, the guy should have had him. No, he's so good at it, man. It's not even funny. Yeah. So
and that's what I wanted to highlight. That's why I picked this one out, because it's the lack of perspective that a lot of people have. And normally I get these comments from, adults that are just trying to cause shit, or kids, like younger kids that are 03 to 05 or later that are making comments like this. And it's like, you literally have no idea what you're talking about, because these guys are so good. And the difference between a guy like Mike Weber, let's say, and a guy like Aaron Ekblad, to me at least, maybe you disagree, but they all have the same kind of baseline set of skills. That's amazing. Yeah. But then the precision on their ability to do things is where the difference comes in. So it's like, everyone is this good, and then the guys that are the best of the best can just do this every single time on purpose, and they'll never miss.
Calmly. Like, that's the difference with Aaron.
It's the little things.
Aaron
though.
is just there's no panic. He's working hard out there and stuff, but it's just his panic threshold to make a play is like so much higher than anybody else. He just, and I don't know if it's seeing the game like in slow motion, like everything comes at him slow or whatever, but his panic threshold is just like where another guy's going to get rid of a puck or bobble it. Yeah. He's like, okay. And it just looks like in his brain, it must look like what?
Yeah. Well, then I think shooting's an obvious example that people can relate to. Like every guy in the NHL has a wicked shot. Every single person that plays in the NHL. So what's the difference between they all probably shoot? Literally, all of them probably shoot in the same speed range.
Yeah, range.
It's not. Roughly. Yeah. It's not like Austin Matthews can shoot 10 miles per hour faster than everyone else. That's not why. Why? But why is he the shooter, right? And it's because he can pick a spot and hit it every time, fast, under pressure, change angles, like those. So it's those little skills, like those are the differentiators. But when you just look at raw ability to do things on the ice, everyone in the NHL is in the ballpark of being able to do that. Yeah. But then it's just those tiny things, like a guy can pick up a pass on his backhand and already know where he needs to shoot, so he doesn't have to look and can just shoot it and he scores.
Yeah. One of the biggest, it's very funny, right? Generational, is like the comment about a guy couldn't. Like Milan Lucic couldn't skate with the WHL team. It's like, okay, just put this in perspective. Every generation, when you look at I'm 52. When I looked at the 60s and 70s, and I watch a game, I'd be like, they can't skate. They have no chance they can play at this level. Yeah. Then you look at the next generation, and like even Charlie will look at the 80s and then in the 90s, or more like the 80s, when Grant Fuhr's in net and he'd be out 3,000 feet from his net and sprawling and stuff. And Charlie goes, well, anybody would score in that. And it's like, no, it's not true. Yeah. It was a whole different game. And then now you look at what I don't know who you say isn't very good now, because I guess it's irrelevant now. But everybody can say, like, no, here's the thing. If you were a top pick in any era, you could... Yeah, you could play in any era. And the thing was, Lucic was like we're not picking on Lucic here. It's like I'm defending him actually, but he was a second round pick. That means he was a top 60 pick in the world, and he was like a high end player a few years ago, right? When it was a little bit more. And he's played
for 15 years.
That's right. But if he stepped on the ice in the WHL, like I've seen, oh God. Webby was, just for an example, Webby was a 6D in Buffalo at the time, and he was practicing with the Spits before he'd go to camp, and Otter would, just before they went to camp and stuff. And the guys would just be like, oh my God, is this guy good? Yeah. You have no idea.
Well, so this is what's funny, is because that does happen where like the NHL guys will go on with the OHL guys or whatever, and that's exactly what happens. Any NHL guy steps on the ice at the OHL level with that team, and every single OHL guy is like, oh my God, like this guy plays in the NHL. Sick. He's unbelievable. Yeah. Every single guy on the ice says that. Yeah. So it's like, that's all I was pointing out again. It's just a perspective. It's like, it's funny.
Well,
right?
no, but the important point to understand, I guess, if you're going to say something like that, is to understand that when you watch an NHL game, you're watching the best of the best, and it's hard to explain that. Yeah. The best of the best, they're just so good at everything. So, you don't
see the contrast. Like I said before, you can't. Everyone's so good, you can't see how good they are.
Yeah, you get a guy tipping pucks, 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100. Yeah, that's what they do. Yeah, making great passes. Picking the same corner over and over. I can do it. Yep. So if I can do it, I'm sure there's a few guys in the NHL are better shooters than me. Yeah, I think
for sure.
So to add to this is, I have one of my best friends. His name is Dave Steen. Okay. Now, Dave Steen and I are one of my best friends, but we don't hang out hardly ever. But it's like we're tight as tight. So Dave Steen won a bronze medal without any drugs. Now, someone's probably going to comment, yeah, I'm sure he didn't have drugs. Zero drugs. Trust me. Yeah. He won a bronze medal in the decathlon in 1988 Seoul Olympics. Okay. Came out that the gold and the the gold and the silver medalists were on some heavy duty drugs, and I know Dave never did anything because he wouldn't even take a protein drink. So anyways, so we're talking about the best of the best, right? So Dave and I said, Dave, I'd love to do some running with you, because we had a gym together, right? So I'd love to do some running with you. So he goes, yeah, let's do it. Let's go to a football field. So we started off doing this one drill. It was walk, jog, sprint, like a football field. By the time you get to the 50-yard line.
Yeah, I remember you told me this, yep.
So he's not even he's not even a sprinter. He's a decathlete. That means you do everything. So you got to be well versed in the 10 events. So you got strength, speed, power, flexibility, pole vaulting. Like, come on, man. Guy can do anything. So we did the first run that we did our little warm up. He goes, okay. So we went to the 50-yard line together, right? Walked, little jog. Then he took off at the 50-yard line. I fell down. I was laughing so hard.
I remember you told me that.
Why was I laughing so hard? Because he was so fast, and he's not even a sprinter.
Yeah.
So I use that scale if you want to compare a hockey player. What they'll do, like the best of the best, which in the NHL there's roughly 800 best hockey players in the world. If you get on the ice with them, they'll make you do what I did with Dave when he went running, because I'm in his domain now.
Right.
He sprinted. I fell down laughing. He looked at me, goes, "What?" And I go, "Come on."
Yeah.
I was dying. It was like a gazelle. It just went like from a jog to he was 10 meters in front of me.
Yeah.
And it was like I was in amazement. And he's not Usain Bolt or Ben Johnson or whatever. He's pretty quick, I guess. But I was like, whoa.
One, it's you can map that onto anything. Like you know who Bob Ross is? Painter guy.
Bad hair.
Brutal hair.
Yeah.
Amazing at painting.
Yeah.
Sometimes my mom on the TV will watch actually a game, and after the game's done, it's like 10 o'clock, and he comes on at 10 o'clock on the whatever channel my mom watches. Create actually is a network.
Okay.
And I'm watching him doing these paintings, and I'm like, effortlessly, beautiful scene, like whatever he's. I'm like, this is unbelievable. How can you? And that is the level of. So think about that. Think about it like that, because most people that make these kind of comments, they might have played at some level of hockey at some point. So they think because they've played some level, like they have a clue, and you don't have a clue, man. You don't. So it's just very, very interesting to talk about. Next one. So we were talking about, I titled this one, was called Enjoy Watching Your Kids Before It's Over.
Watched him with pure joy. Go to his OHL games. My wife keeps going, I miss minor hockey. I know, because she's a business now. Hockey becomes a business. It'll drive you bananas if you're not prepared for this as a parent. The thing is to enjoy it, because you know it would be an awful thing, honestly. He could possibly play 5 years in the OHL. Wouldn't it be awful to spend the next 5 years worried, uptight, pissed off, trying to squeeze more juice out of him, trying to motivate him, doing what you would do in minor hockey, and not come out of it and say that, like, at least we enjoyed watching him. He's still your son.
Yeah.
Because now it's up to him anyways. That would suck to be him to be 21, 22, and for us to look back and say just bad things.
So somebody commented on that one. Unfortunately, minor hockey can be a business as well, especially in the GTHL AAA. That was their comment on that one. So I don't know if you want to throw something on that.
Could be, I wouldn't call it a business. I mean, the minor hockey might have some side to it that is business-like. Okay, so probably saying that coaches get paid. Yeah, that's probably true. That's just I wouldn't call that a business, because the guy's not going to get actually fired, or he's not trying to get to the end. Well, maybe he's trying, but it's not the same at all. That's just kind of one of those things. Like, even in the local minor hockey, a lot of the coaches now get, and I have no problem with this, getting their gas paid for, hotels paid for, stuff like that. I have zero problem with that. I think it's actually good, because especially if they're volunteering their time and they just want to coach. I think it's a nice gesture to do, and to buy their lunches and stuff. Like, okay, cool. I do have a problem with minor hockey coaches getting paid. I do. I have a problem. I know a lot of people say, well, yeah, if you want the best coaching, okay, that's fine. Like, whatever. There's an argument either way, I guess.
Yeah.
The business side of it, to me, I don't really know how to say this in minor hockey, but you are paying coaches, so there's maybe a side to it that people that pay coaches may have some preferential treatment with their kids and stuff. Mm-hmm. And but this goes back to what I always say is, if you are the best guy on the ice, then you don't have to worry about that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I don't know. I don't know really what else to say about that. It's
well, it circles to the politics argument that we talk about.
Yeah, it's more politics than anything.
Yeah, and that's kind of what this guy's implying, like the politics that can come. And so, like we've said this a million times, but our philosophy, because I know we both agree on this, for the politics in hockey, it's not that the politics don't exist, because politics, things like ulterior motives and agendas and all that, that's everywhere. Like you can't really get around that. Yeah. But it's the amount of impact that it actually has on the career of a player or their trajectory or whatever, I think is just like way, way overblown, overstated. Like whatever. Everyone acts like everyone got screwed and that's why they didn't make it. Like that's how everyone talks about like the concept of politics or like minor hockey business. And I don't live in Toronto, so maybe it's worse than I know, but I know how minor hockey works. I know you know how minor hockey works. And even if there's money being tossed around and whatever, the best players are going to move on. And if that happens in their draft year, if it happens a year later, if it happens 2 years later or whatever, the kids that are good and good enough to make it and progress, very infrequently will it be the politics that stopped. And that doesn't mean it never happens, but it's very infrequent that would be the actual reason why someone doesn't move on to a higher level. So I just think it's comments like that. I get your point. I understand the point, but I just think people scapegoat that a lot for the reason that things don't work out or whatever. I think it's just way, way overstated. So
I guess I don't have a whole lot to say about that, but I would agree with you.
Yeah. Next one. So this one we were talking about soft parenting and like the soft generation of kids. I don't know what it is about the parents. There's a lot of erring on the side of don't do too much, don't push it, don't overwork or work too hard. Kids need to figure out how to find the actual limit between like hurt and tired, sore and hurt, those differences. Like you don't know that when you're a teenager. Yeah. So I find like a lot of these kids are going to their physio person or their chiro person or whatever, and they're always defaulting to, well, I need to take a break because this is sore a little bit. What can happen is like, okay, now I got to take a week off because my chiro guy said I should take a week off. Now I missed 3 workouts. That happens every 2 months, and now you're missing 6 workouts in 2 months. Like that's a terrible idea. You're getting out of the flow. You're missing whatever that day is, whatever the workout of that day is. If it's a squat day or a hinge day or whatever, like that's a big day. You don't want to miss that day. And so I don't know what the mentality is of the parents. I never did that. I don't know about you, but like when I was a teenager, when I was 14 and 15, I didn't go to chiro. I didn't go to physio. I didn't do not that it's inherently bad necessarily, but it's just the mentality that goes with it, right? So this is an interesting one because for us, like, and I remember when we talk about that kind of stuff, we're not, and you've said this before, you don't want to come off as like Joe Tough Guy or whatever, because that's not what we're trying to be, but we promote, a level of resiliency and being able to solve a problem and handle criticism and handle adversity and like that kind of stuff. Obviously, those things are good things to have. So this comment came from somebody, and this kind of goes against, in a way, I guess, what some of the stuff we talk about. But this guy said, the same thing goes for mental health. Honestly, taking care of meaning your mental health, taking care of your mental health is stupid. It affects you and only you. If you let your mental health get in your way, then you won't make it. So that was the comment from this guy. And before I throw it to you, so this is something that could be interpreted as the message of our video. Right? This is something that people could think we're saying. Like we're saying, it doesn't matter what you feel mentally. Like just get over it. Like you know what I mean? Overcome whatever you're thinking. Like don't be a baby. Like all that kind of stuff. Like people could interpret, because the way people interpret some stuff, it's like, wow. But people could think we're saying something like this in the video. Yeah. And the reason I pulled this out is because this is actually not what we're saying when we're saying don't be soft or anything. So that's my background for you.
So am I talking about the physical or mental right now? Because we were talking about some soft. So let me go back to that. So we were talking about, some kids are like at a young age. I think we were talking about. I noticed a difference in parents at the rink. Always like there was a transition where they'd drop the kids off, or they'd come and watch practice and stuff, and then they'd wait in the car after, or they'd watch the skill session and whatever. But I saw a trend quickly happen, like it was almost like an age group where
that was in the same thread. We were talking about the same
parents come in and make sure you have a water bottle and it was like a baby them and make sure you work hard. It was like trying to massage everything they do. And then it went into kids that like sometimes when they're injured, or they thought they were injured.
That was the clip.
They it was always like chiropractor, massage therapist, this, that, the other thing, where, and so I'd say the same thing about the mental side is like I would never say just tough it out. What we were saying there is, let's just take an injury, for example. I got a sore back. Well, the easy thing to do would say, okay, we'll go to the chiropractor. And then the chiropractor will give you a little thing and say, well, we come back a couple more times, take a week off. And I'm not saying that you never go see a chiropractor, but what I would say is, as a student or as a player, what can you do to prevent these things is what we were saying.
Right.
So we can, instead of just every time they have a bump and bruise, take them somewhere and get fixed.
Right.
It's like we can take care of a lot of that stuff ourselves by doing mobility stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Instead of always relying on someone else to fix our problems. And the other thing is you have to understand the difference between actually having I had a kid, man. I'd push him through things unless I thought it was dangerous.
Yep.
So he took a shot in the head one time, and my wife was like, well, maybe we should hold him out. I said, hey, listen, man, you don't get a concussion that way. You're like a puck coming off his head, you're not getting a concussion. Yeah. Unless it was 3,000 miles an hour and it blew his head off his shoulders. You got to go pick up the shrapnel. Maybe he's got a concussion. Now he doesn't have a head. So you don't get a concussion like that. So let's stop. Like there's a common sense approach to it too, right? Now, then there's things they look a little bit more serious, and it's okay. We need to go check a doctor for these things.
Right.
So that's like common sense. But take care of what you can take care of on your own. Stretch, and these are lessons. They're better for them to do that stuff anyways. Is don't just rely on other people to do it. The mental health thing, I'm not qualified to tell you what is I'm not qualified to say what mental health is. All I know is that I'm a pretty upbeat guy. I know some of the things that I do to stay upbeat and to maybe not get down is fitness and reading and stuff. But having said that, there's days where I don't feel like it, and there's times where I feel like not as motivated and stuff like that. Ignoring it would be stupid.
Yeah.
It would be stupid to sit there and say, so what was the thing on mental? So I don't understand.
So yeah, so basically what he's saying is, I think what he's trying to point out is that, I'm assuming it's a he.
Yeah, you're assuming.
But what he's trying to point out is, I think people, especially today, there's a lot of mental health talk, right?
Everything's an issue.
Everything's about your mental health and your mental, and I see that argument.
I understand that point.
Because that can definitely go overboard.
Yeah.
I get that. But to say that taking care of your mental health is stupid and it affects you and only you, and if you let your mental health get in the way, you won't make it. It's like, no, that's not right.
No.
You actually need to do work to keep yourself mentally sharp and keep yourself in a good state. That's actually very important. So if you say, okay, just like that, overcome if you're in a downward, that's not helpful. If you're in a downward spiral of some sort, then like you said, you need a strategy to get out of that. That's number one. Number two, there are legitimate mental health problems that people can have, and
100%.
Sometimes you might actually need help. You might actually need to go talk to somebody. You might actually need to do something,
100%.
have some intervention to help yourself.
Yeah.
But framing it, whatever his point was, framing it
really
in this way,
general.
Yeah, it's not a good way to talk about the idea of mental health. Like I said, I get your point that you can go overboard. That kind of way of talking about it isn't useful.
When I was in my 20s, there was a couple of people that I knew that said they had mental health problems, and I said, just get over it, man.
Yeah.
Have a better attitude, right? That's what I said.
That's what he's kind of saying.
Yeah, and,
right?
and that's because I never was depressed.
Yeah,
I never had any issues like that. Not that I was aware of. Maybe I hid them. I don't know. I think I'm pretty stable.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm fairly stable. I think I'm okay. I look at myself in the mirror and tell myself I'm okay. So no, but it was ignorant of me to say that to people. Like, just muck it out. It's your attitude and all that stuff. Some people it's not. I'm sorry. And probably over the years when actually life hits you, even it doesn't have to be life. Some people just have the issue. But if life hits you sometimes and you just don't know the solutions, you can get pretty down.
No, okay, I got water on my nose.
Yeah, I know.
No, that's right. And I think the way you that last sentence, that's the right way to think about it.
Like my son being away from home, he's called me or I'm aware of what could be happening. So maybe I'm a step ahead of the game.
Yeah.
But I know if you listen, man, if you're a high pick and you were drafted and you're all the ice time all your life to go to a league, and now you're on the fourth line and you're getting, well, I only got one shift that period. You know what his attitude at the end of the game is? It was like, yay, I got one period. I'm so happy about my 12-second shift. Yay, I'm so happy, and I'm going to have a good attitude and pretend that I'm happy. I already know he's pissed.
Right.
If he's not pissed, then we have another issue. So it's being ahead of it and guiding him through it. And if I don't, as a dad, even as a coach, kind of stay ahead of it so that they understand, guess what that does to your mental frame?
Yeah.
I just want to play, and it goes sideways or south, and all of a sudden you don't think you're very good.
Yep.
Unless you're just like a genius kid, and you just say, "Oh, I understand this. I'm going to muck through it. I'm going to work my ass off and show them." And unless you're the perfect human being,
which no kid understands.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, no, that's right. And that's kind of what I was getting at with that. Like, there's a point at which it becomes too much, but to like just dismiss it as not being a real problem, it's like that's not
right.
That's not true. Like it takes, and I remember it too when I was away. Like you need to spend time making sure that you're in a good mental frame, whatever mental health means. But so this one was good. This was a video we did talking about making the choice between NCAA and CHL. Most kids aren't going to be in the position where they get to choose. So if you get drafted in Canada, 16, you go to camp for 2 years, and then if you get cut both years, then your choice is basically over. You're probably not going to get another crack at the OHL. You're probably going to try to go to school after that. If you're a kid from the States, you have a little bit more leeway to pick now. There's a lot more schools over there. You're already in the States. You're already in that environment. You were probably planning on that anyways. If you get an opportunity from an OHL team, maybe you're like, okay, well, now I actually have to think about this. If you find yourself in the position where you get to pick, you're probably good enough where it doesn't actually matter too much. Go wherever the best deal is for you, basically. All the regular hockey things we talk about. Where are you going to play the most? Where are you going to develop the best? Who has the best development program? Who has the best facilities? So if you're talking about D1 school that doesn't have a ton of money and always finishes in the toilet every year versus a really high quality OHL program, that's a pretty easy choice, and vice versa. If it's an OHL team that doesn't have the best reputation or doesn't have the best development program, and then you have a choice to go to Michigan State, I feel like that's an easier choice. And this guy, very matter-of-factly, commented, NCAA, you'd be stupid to turn down a D1 offer for an OHL team. You'll get your education and have a chance for the NHL. OHL barely pays for education. That was that comment. So obviously this is just like someone who's obviously misinformed and maybe doesn't have a lot of experience dealing with it. But I mean, I know we talked about in the context of some of our guys that have went to the OHL, they're getting some pretty sweet deals in terms of education alone, let alone
they have no choice.
Yeah.
I had my school paid for. 1985, got all my education paid for. Several guys on my team did as well. Here's the thing with that. First of all, it's easy to sit there as an adult and say, because it sounds so good. You just go to get a D1 scholarship and get your school paid for. Okay, they just don't happen. First of all, but that's easy to say because it seems like a no-brainer. But on the other side is that if you play in the OHL, CHL, you have your school paid for. Now, there's different levels of it. If you play 1 year, there's some 1-for-1, so play a year, get a year, play 2 years, get 2 years. There's some kids, like I know a kid that I work with that just signed, and because they didn't give them so the big one would be like 1 game, 4 years of university paid for. And then this team gave him, because he was a late signing and he wasn't prepared for it, and they tried to help him make a decision. They expect him to play 4 years, but they said you play 1 game, we'll give you 2 years, and then after that, every year you play, we'll give you a year of university, college paid for. So that's good. So the argument that the OHL hardly pays for the school, that's not true.
Yeah,
it's not true. Like that's it's an ignorant statement. It's just not true.
And on the other side of that, when you're talking about a D1 scholarship, it's not D1 pays for your school either. It's
not all of it.
They might pay for some of it. They might pay for a year. They might give you it if you maintain an average. They might. So it's not. So on the one side, he's he's misrepresenting what happens in the OHL, and then he's overstating what happens with Division I scholarships, right? It's not just I'll get my 4 years paid for at D1. It's like, no, even if you get a full ride, there's always something you have to maintain in terms of a grade point average or some eligibility standards that you have to maintain.
And and to be fair though, there's a lot of help to help you maintain that as 100%. Athlete. But the most important thing about the D1 scholarships is that when people think scholarship, they think a full ride of everything paid for, and that's a very, very rare.
Yeah, that's what I'm pointing out with this. Right? He's saying it like it's like that, like you get your school paid for. It's like, well,
so just go do that.
Yeah, right.
So now change gears a bit. Change pace.
Nice. Change of pace.
Is who's making the decision to go?
Yeah.
So if I made the decision to go, if I was, let's just say I was and trust me on this, I have no preference.
That's I was gonna say that too.
I have zero preference.
One over the other. Yeah.
My son's in the OHL, and it's like, but here's the reason. Can I tell my son what to be when he grows up? I want you to be a lawyer, a doctor, engineer. I can't do that for him. I can't do it. If I do that to him, like, I'll probably be disappointed, and he'll probably resent me pushing him to do something he didn't want to do. So if you're making a choice between the OHL and college, all you can do is, like, the kid is making the choice, not mom and dad. Mom and dad could guide you, unless maybe some parents make their kids do it. I don't know. But for the most part, the kid has to make that decision, not mom and dad.
Yep.
Now, are we going to go through details and find out and make sure it's the best place and talk to the kids and make decisions about that? Yes. But ultimately what happens is that the kid makes the decision. So to say just grab NCAA, OHL doesn't pay for education, that's just not the way it works.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, if you're a kid or a parent, I don't care where you live. Like Sasha passed the job with Guelph as a U.S. He was supposed to go to Notre Dame. He came to the OHL for a reason. So NHL teams obviously would like some development there. And I'm not saying better than college or anything, but that was probably something that made sense to his agent in the Anaheim Ducks to go to the OHL. It's a good place to go. But when you're making the decision, if you're 16 years old or 17, 18, whatever, and as a parent, you're given, here's a team that's saying, we want you to play for our team. And this is the school that we're offering to give you all this for school. Whether it's 2, 3 years or 4 years, whatever it is, 5 years. And it's one in the hand, right? As opposed to, well, we're going to wait a year or two, and hopefully if we work hard and everything goes right, X school is going to give me a scholarship, which I don't know the amount's going to be. So are you a dummy for taking what you know you got?
No.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, your school's paid for, unless you choose not to use it. Yeah. So
I think it's other factors that are more at play than the school thing. That's kind of what I like. This is a dismissible point because it's like you get your school, either way. To some degree, whether it's a D1 or OHL, you're getting some amount of school that they're going to pay for. That's not the main consideration to make, basically. It's other things. It's how old are you? What kind of opportunity are you getting? How much attention are you getting? Who's offering you what kind of opportunity? What organization are you going to? Like, where do you live? Like, these are the types of things you should consider more than like the school argument. So that's kind of the last piece.
More of a hockey question, I guess.
Yeah.
I think you'd be absolutely nuts unless you wanted to go to Harvard or Cornell or a specific school to get your education, to be a doctor with all that and all that. I think you'd be absolutely nuts not to take. If you were good enough to get a 4-year OHL scholarship package and you didn't take it, I don't know.
Well, but it's the opposite. Like, it depends, and that's where it starts to be. Depends where you live. Like, if you live in Ontario, that's what you would get. But if you're 16 in Minnesota, they're offering you a full ride D1 scholarship there, right? So it's like it just
maybe.
It depends, but it depends where you live. If you're getting offered a 4-year OHL contract to pay for 4 years of school, that means you're a top dog.
Yes.
Which means if you live in Minnesota, you're getting a 4-year Division I offer. Right?
Yes.
So then it's like now
it's a hockey skill thing.
Yeah. Now it's just where do you live? If you live in Minnesota, you're going D1. If you live in Ontario, you're going to play in the OHL.
Yeah.
Because both are fantastic options.
Yes.
Right?
100%.
So that's kind of what it comes down to.
And the path to get to each of them is a little bit different, but yeah, 1,000%. Yep.
So next one, we were talking about physical size in hockey.
1985, like it's old school hockey now. There's a lot of clutching and grabbing. There's a fight every 2 minutes. The bigger you were, the better. If you could, if you didn't necessarily have to skate because you can get your stick into someone and you can, it was a physical game, which I was fine with. But I was only 5'9.5" and 170 pounds when I was 16 years old playing in that league.
Did that end up being a reason why you didn't make it though? Like the stature part of it? Because we talk about this all the time, how it was a different game because of the way the game was played back then. Do you think it could have been partly like a timing thing? Physically, maybe you weren't what was being looked for at the time.
I don't care what anyone says right now. The smaller player has a chance. They do. Like we're talking 2018, 19, 20, 21, maybe through to 25. I disagree because you know what the first thing everyone asked when Charlie got interviewed? Size of your feet, how tall are your parents?
Yeah.
Size doesn't matter. It's just better to be bigger. Like to a certain degree, it is. To answer your question, was size a factor? 100%, but it's not the factor.
So somebody, and this was just a question that looks like a kid asked, so I thought it'd be good to talk about.
No, it's probably a kid asking because he would like help.
Yep, that's right. What can smaller players do to separate themselves from other players? So this was in the context, because we were talking about in that clip actually how it doesn't matter what people say, being bigger is just better. It's just better to be bigger because you just have advantages from your size, from a size standpoint. So if you're smaller, when
you're big, you have to prove you can't play.
Yeah, that's right.
If you're good and big, you have to prove that you can't play. If you're small and good, you have to prove that you're good despite being small. That's
great. Well said.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Totally. But so what does a small guy have to do? Like number one, I love that question because I like helping guys. Because I could probably tell right now this kid's a tiger just by asking that question because he's probably going to take this information and go with it, right? So when you're a smaller guy, we got one of my best examples is on Charlie's team is Benny McFarland. He's 5'8" or 5'7.5" or something like that, and the guy stands out not because he puts 10 pucks in, because you would think small guys have to be fast and score goals,
skilled,
right?
Skilled player.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily so. You got to bring something to the table, just like a big guy. So being small, you have to do something to stand out. So like Ben McFarland on the Guelph Storm, he's a tiger. He
never stops moving.
Hits everybody. Yeah. Like he's a very physical player, and he's a smaller, thicker guy. He is a tenacious forechecker. He gets loose pucks, and he's a great penalty killer and good in his D zone. So he's got speed. So that's what I would say for a young guy is make sure that you're standing out. A small guy. You want to be so when you're small, you do want to be as fast as possible. And you want to be as strong as possible so that you're like built like a little bit, I don't want to say built like a fire hydrant, but kind of built like a fire hydrant, meaning that you're just hard to knock off a puck so that when you do come in contact with someone, even when they're big, it's like hitting a thud, not just a big body. So, you make an impact when you do have physical contact and stuff, but, obviously work on your offensive side of the game. That would help you. But I mean, being a superb defensive player, forechecker, and on that it's good enough. You're just do something different than anyone else. So find your niche, and it's sad in a way that the smaller guys always do have to prove themselves. Like there's a little chip on the shoulder, and it's like when a Brendan Gallagher, who's actually not just a small guy that's pretty good, he's a superstar, and it's like he's always referred to that for a small guy. No, the guys that compete, and I think that's the word that you have to have for a smaller guy is just the compete level off the charts.
Yep.
And I could say this as a player, like when you have a guy that, if you're a smaller guy that's, play with Tiger Chitteroni when I was in junior, 5'8", and he would go against anybody. He becomes scary because it's that small package of dynamite. And you surprise people. And if you can stick up for yourself as a small guy, you'll create room for yourself.
Yeah,
but don't the thing with the smaller guys, is don't look at yourself as small. It's a big mistake because it's always in the back of your head. Just look at yourself as a player, and work your ass off because create doubt every time you tell yourself that you're small. Never mind that you're small. Just ignore it.
Yeah.
Pretend you're 6'3".
I think the marker that you mentioned there, the compete, that's the measuring stick, right? Like make sure your compete's off the charts, and then you specialize in whatever that thing is that you're good at, whatever the niche is. That could be forechecking, whatever. It could be skill. It could be whatever, however you play. But that compete thing, that's got to be the common denominator. Okay, so this one, this was a video that I posted. It was actually pretty popular. It was talking about eating on game day, which is so funny how freaking nobody teaches this, man. Like nobody knows how they're supposed to eat when they're even I remember Dalton talking about game days. Like he had to figure out what he was supposed to be eating on his game days. It's like, guys plays in the NHL. Why is this information not being taught? Anyways, key on your game day is you want to be light from a nutrition perspective. You want to feel light. You go into games and you feel like you got the mud legs or cement legs. There's usually 2 reasons for that. One would be you didn't move that day yet, and the second reason is you ate stupid. Before your game, you want to err on the side of not enough food than too much food. You can't undo too much, but you can always eat something. Eat things that you digest well. That means things that aren't going to upset your stomach. You want things that will digest quickly. So that means like lower fat, typically. You want to be focused on like carbohydrates and protein. The trick with the carbohydrates is people think this is like an older way of thinking about things, is you got to like carb load. The carb load thing isn't really necessary. You want to eat carbs and protein, but it's always moderate. Because on the game day, if you're eating a whole bunch of carbs, you're going to want to take a nap, man. The general principles are going to be keep it light and focus more protein, carbohydrate, and things that are going to digest easily. So this wasn't specifically about nutrition, but this kid asked in terms of not moving, if you get cement legs from not moving that day, what's a good pregame workout to make sure that doesn't happen? So that's a pretty good question. So that outside of the nutrition piece, just what advice about that? Just making sure that you're feeling like you got energy during the game. What would you say about that?
Yeah, so it comes back to something we talked about before. Is the thing is every now and then you're going to have a game where it's just the way you are. I mean, I go to workout like last week workouts, even a little bit this week. I just don't feel it. Like I'm doing them, but I just don't feel it. My body doesn't feel energetic and stuff. Look at my habits. Yeah, I got off. Had a few beers on the weekend, a couple late nights. That could be it. But anyways, thing is, stay on your routine. This stuff here, water. It's called water. Drink lots of it. If you have lots of water every day, a couple liters a day, you're hydrated. So you don't want to be not hydrated. So that's number one. Stay in your routines. That's why what Eric says all the time about staying in your routines is really important, because if you stay in your routines, you maybe could gives you your best chance. Having said all that, there are going to be days where you're just going to have heavier legs or things don't feel right, and there's not much you can do about it. But just stay to your routines as much as you can. Drink your water and eat healthy most of the time.
Yep. And I think on the routine piece,
pregame routine should be the same pregame.
Well, this is what I'm
no matter what.
going to point at. If you don't have a pregame routine, then you need to make one. Yeah. And so for this guy, like if he was asking about, what's a good thing to do during the day to make sure that you're moving, or what's a good pregame like kind of setup that you can get for yourself so you feel good going on the ice. And if you don't have that yet, then you need to make sure that at some point earlier in that day, you get a sweat of some sort, right? So you're not pushing into any like reserve energy. You're not doing a high intensity interval workout. You're not doing any of that. It could be a bike. It could be some kind of dynamic warm-up sequence. It could be go for a walk. It could be a combination of those things. It could be yoga. It could be whatever you want. But go and move around. You should feel alive that day, not just being a couch potato.
Yeah.
So develop some routine, some habits. What time do you get up? What time do you eat? What time do you move? And try to stick as closely to that regimen as you can. And that's what's going to give your body, it'll start to develop some patterns, right? It's like people say, if you wake up at the same time over time, you wake up at the same time every morning, eventually your body just starts to wake up at that time. And you don't have to wake it up anymore. You don't need your alarm.
That's right.
And that's the benefit of the routines. Your body starts to expect certain things at certain times, and then you can stick with that. So you find a routine that works for you, whatever it is, something like I just suggested, or whatever works for you, figure out what it is, and then you stick to that. And some days, like especially if you're playing in junior, you probably go to school or something, so you're not going to always be able to have the ideal setup, but you try to stick to it the best you can and don't let it go and don't compromise it either, because that's how, as soon as you start to change things a lot, now your body doesn't know what's happening anymore. And that's where you start to get out of your groove or whatever. So that's good on that one. Okay, so this is the last one. So this one was a video we talked about, like drinking, partying, lifestyle, and trying to become a hockey player.
You have to be really dialed in. I mean, you can't do it. The competition is so stiff now. If you think that you can go out and drink and perform and make the NHL, it's not going to happen. The only way it happens is if you are the best of the best, but it doesn't happen long. You can try to fight that one. It doesn't happen anymore. So the players are just way too good.
Especially in junior, because now the age differential is there now, right? Where you're 16 and you're with 20-year-olds that can drink and all that. You do have to find a balance because you also need to be part of the team. This doesn't mean that you can never go out with the boys and every Saturday night you have to stay in and go to bed.
Not at all.
You have to find how can I be a part of this without negatively impacting my long-term progress on this. One of the keys of that is being confident in yourself to say, I'm going to come and hang out with you guys or not, but if I am, I'm doing it my way on my terms, and I don't care what you guys say. We're all going to have a good time, and that's fine, but you guys can do it your way, and I'm just going to do it my way. You can't succumb to the pressure of, well, you're not a beauty.
So this guy comments, he goes, every pro hockey player is laughing at this video because all they used to do is train, play hockey, and drink. So that was this comment.
So what I'm going to emphasize is every pro hocky player is laughing.
All of them.
Because all they ever did
that's all they did.
Was eat, train, and drink.
Yeah, that's it.
Well,
yeah.
Maybe we're wrong.
So
maybe I'm wrong.
So this is just not true.
Every hockey player. So
every pro hockey player.
So I would answer that question is how many pro hockey players do you actually know?
Yeah.
And maybe this is someone that played hockey and his group of buddies who were pro hockey players, which I'm doubting.
And what do you mean by pro is also
yeah. So here's the thing. Okay. If you hockey aside, if you go out and drink 6 beers on a good regular basis, would that be good for you or bad for you? I'm not even talking about a hockey player. It's bad for you, right? It is. You're probably going to be sluggish. You're probably going to be gaining a little bit of weight. You're probably not going to be optimal.
Yeah, won't
Just
sleep
probably.
well. Yeah.
You're probably not going to sleep well because you actually, especially if you're really drinking, you're not even sleeping because it's what is the state called?
Sedated.
Sedated. It's like so you're not even getting into any healthy sleep. And we know that if you don't sleep well, even missing an hour of sleep, your performance level goes down. I think it's like 40%. Let's say,
I don't know the
let's
number,
say
but
I'm wrong.
whatever.
I read that in the
I know what
doctor
you're
book,
talking
Sleep
about. I don't remember the
Smarter
number,
and
though,
all that stuff. And maybe I'm a little bit off, but let's say it's 2 hours and it's only 20%. But 20% of your performance is a lot. So let's just say that from non-hockey perspective, it's not healthy for you, even if you're an accountant.
Yeah.
You know, if you stock shelves at the grocery store, you're not going to perform as well. So that's number one. Now, as a professional athlete, obviously your performance will go way down and whatever. So
your job is to optimally perform.
yeah. So now, I love having a few beers, or a lot of them actually. I love it, and a lot of my friends that when I played hockey with them in the 80s and 90s loved to drink their beer. Okay, and at one point there was a lot of guys who used to go out quite a bit. I understand that. Like if that person's my age, or if they're hanging around with a bunch of dorks or a bunch of guys that are maybe not dialed in, I could say, yeah, maybe I don't believe. Anyways, you cannot in today's day and age just train. What did he say? Train, eat,
play hockey,
drink.
and drink.
Yeah, it's not freaking possible. Now, there are exceptions to the rules.
Right.
You could be, and so the guys that are on my wall and the guys that I've trained, like Ryan Kressler, for an example.
Ryan Kessler?
Kessler.
Yeah.
He was a machine. Everything, and paid attention to everything, man. Larkin, Dalton, Aaron, like just go down the line. Yes, the guys will go out on a Friday night in the summertime, or maybe Friday, Saturday, but they dial it back in. I'm not saying they never do it, but I'm telling you, in this day and age, you cannot do that anymore.
Yep.
You're competing. So like in the 80s and 70s when 80s when Europeans started to come over, all of a sudden guys had to perk up a little bit. Like it is true. We used to, like, hockey players used to come into training camp to get in shape. That's true. That's the way it used to be. You can't do that anymore, man. You have to be
always
so
in shape.
So here's the thing: is there's so much there are so many ways that the teams keep track of you. There's some teams that give you heart monitors every day in the summertime. I remember one of my guys, when he was playing for Buffalo, had this heart monitor, and he report that in every day in the summertime to see their VO2 max, to see everything about them, their heart rates, to find out where they're at, their body fat. They're so dialed in that you can't even hide anymore. Now, if you can perform at that level in spite of, whatever, it's just not conducive. It doesn't even make sense anymore. You have to be, the guys eat healthy, they drink water, and the other thing is you could probably make the argument it's not very fun anymore. And that would be actually a safe thing to say. I think Brent Hull just said something the other day about it. It's no fun anymore. Like, the fun is out of hockey, but the money's a lot more.
Yeah,
it is a business, and for the guy that's like the average hockey player in the NHL, their workouts are monitored. Like, you have to perform in your workouts. You have to perform in practice.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a shit practice, you're not playing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about, even like a second line guy. I'm talking about guys that are your average guy, which most guys are average. Yeah. If you don't have good practices and you didn't perform in a game, you're out. Yeah. Maybe not for the year, but you might be out for 2-3 games scratched. So there's no wiggle room for jackasses. Everybody's life is on the line here.
Yeah. Well, I think the issue with guys like comments like this is people see, like, in the media, they'll find an example like Evander Kane or like Patrick Kane or Tyler Seguin, where they have like some partying story comes out where they were off at some event, whatever. And it's like, this is that top 1% argument again that we talk about, where it's like, these are exceptions where, and I guarantee you, even those guys, they're not going to get after it every weekend, man. No. They're not. They're still picking their spots, right? And that's a percentage of that 1% that even do that. It's like, you don't hear about Crosby doing that. You don't hear about McDavid doing that. You don't hear about, so which guys, you're just picking guys that work for your argument.
Yeah.
But
or if you go, here's the other thing, you see this a lot, is when everybody does it, but like, if you see 5 guys, like say our guys on the wall here are out at the bar down the road, and they're just absolutely buckled. They went to a golf tournament and they're, they've been at it since 1:00 in the afternoon. You happen to see 5 guys at a bar, and maybe it's a weekend or whatever. You see them all the time. They're just drinking and all that stuff. Well, it's not everybody. It's not all the time.
Right. Yeah,
it's maybe a one-off.
Yeah.
And then be careful what the rumors are and what people say.
Oh, and that's the other thing that when we were talking in this video, that's another important piece of context. We weren't talking about guys that are already in the NHL anyways. We were talking about the mental framework of kids that are trying to make the NHL. That's what we were saying. It's like, if once you're in the NHL, you go out every couple weekends or when you're on a road trip or whatever, and that's what you want to do, or in the summer when you have your 5-year contract already and you're going to go out a couple weekends, that's not the same circumstance as the 20, 21, 22-year-old that just got drafted or is trying to get drafted and didn't make it yet.
Yeah.
It's like, you can afford to do that less when you're still trying to make it, Yeah. And that's even what we're talking about. Then you could
even say, when you have a contract, at least if you got a 5-year contract, at least you're getting paid for 5 years. But the hardest part about getting to the NHL is staying there.
Right.
Getting there is really hard. Staying there is even tougher.
I know, but that isn't even what we were talking about, though. Like, our video wasn't even about guys that are there already. Yeah. Like, our video where we were talking about kids that are trying to be a pro hockey player. Yeah. That's what we were doing. It's like, you're going to have that habit already before you've even made it. You got no chance. You won't.
Yeah. Well, and then you just look at things, man. It's just common sense. Several of my buds that I played hockey with smoked darts like it was going out of style.
Yeah.
It's like, do I need to say that that's not a good thing to do?
Can't breathe on the ice, man.
Yeah. Nobody got around. Sure, and I'm sure there's still a few guys that smoke darts, and that's whatever you want to do. But if you want to be at your best, it's just, come on, man, it's not your best choice.
Yeah, funny,
So
I'm gonna wrap it on this one. This was just funny. I like this one. So this was on a video. The importance of your attitude. This guy comments. He goes, "For real though, what's up with that bandana?" Hey. I like it. I like it.
You always wear one.
I know. I like the bandanas. So? Don't knock it till you try it. Okay. We'll wrap it on that unless you got anything else.
Nope.
All good?
Okay. See y'all next week. Bye, everyone.